Going live. Going live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. If you're watching this on the broadcast, I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thursdays, it's going to be based off of a topic. Everyone else, let me know if the audio syncing is fine, but we're going to be talking about a topic that is going to be focused on whatever I believe is important for safety at that time. Today, we're going to be talking about why I don't trust DOT helmets. And then a few other things when it comes to helmet laws, because there's a lot of stuff happening within the legislature in certain states. But Thursdays is going to be members only chat. You can still watch, you can still hang out, but if you want to actively participate in the chat, it's going to be for members. That's just a perk that I give for my YouTube members. So if you click that join button at a $2 level, $5 level, whatever you want to do, you can join the chat on Thursdays. Tuesdays is absolutely open for everyone. What's up, Michael? How you doing, man? Welcome to the chat. So we're going to be talking about motorcycle helmets. But before we jump into it, I want to say thank you, Johan Maril. Just became a YouTube member prior to the stream, so I'm going to go ahead and replay it. This was 10 minutes ago. So let's see if it's going to play up. But yeah, you can tell right here, the newest YouTube member is Johan Maril. Hey, dude, keep it sharp. What's up, James? How you doing, man? How you doing? So if audio, let me know, guys. James and Michael, let me know if the audio is, doing fine. It should. There should not be any delay, but we'll double check. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be talking about. I have the screen. You can see it right here. What's up, Florida? How you doing? Right now we're going to be double checking all these different things. These are actually a bunch of Ride Apart articles that just came out, but the one that really kind of got me going was the 22. You don't hear delay? Perfect. Awesome. So 2020 DOT, we're going to go switch over here. So the 2020 DOT Certified Helmet Performance Update and failure rates. So one of the problems that I have with DOT helmets is, let's go ahead and scroll back. So DOT is the Department of Transportation. That's the United States helmet testing. So if you see like a giant DOT sticker on the back of a helmet, that is the rating. ECE is the European Commission. That is the European standard. And then there's SHARP. There's Snell, and then there's the Japanese version. There's also the Australian version. There's a bunch of different versions out there. And most, if not all, those versions are either independently tested or they're tested prior to going on the market, which I believe is absolutely vital in keeping helmets safe. DOT, on the other hand, is a honor system, and then they are tested afterwards while they've already been on the market. So somebody could buy a helmet, get in a crash, and it might not be rated right. So if you're ever, right off the bat, guys, if you're ever looking for a helmet, I will never recommend DOT only. I will never recommend DOT only. Never, ever, 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 ever. I will only recommend ECE and above. I believe Snell is slightly above ECE, but they're about the same. So I recommend ECE minimum. So we're going to go back to this because this is what's important. So DOT Certified Helmet Performance. So they actually went out and tested. So if you see this little bar chart right here, I can't maximize it, but this is 2014 off to the right, and it goes all the way to 2019 all the way to the left. The helmets that are the orange, that's the percentage. The orange are the percentage. The blue is total helmets tested. So 50% of helmets tested failed. 2018, 60% of helmets failed. Just in 2019, 36% of the helmets failed. So we're going to go into that, okay? So 4 out of 10 helmets claimed by the manufacturer to meet DOT safety standards failed to do so when put to the test by an independent test lab. So right here, this helmet, I know it's up on here. It says it's the Scorpion Covert model. This is one that passed in 2018. 18 out of 20 helmets in 2018 failed. 12 of them failed on a performance test. So there's a few things that go into putting that DOT sticker on the back of that helmet. One, it has to be the right sticker, it has to say that it's I believe it's FMZS. Let me scroll up. That's an ad right there. Let's see. I forgot the exact numbers, and I don't want to give you guys the wrong stuff. FMZS, so that's the federal, FMVSS 218 has a set of performance standards. It's another article. And part of that is having the sticker in the right spot. Part of that is having the the labeling. So part of the labeling is it has to tell you what it is, what it's doing, how it's doing, all that stuff. So right here, let's just take a look. So 2014, there was 31 helmets tested, including all sizes. So in the United States, there's hundreds of helmets. What's up, Riding Hope? Dude, you changed your name. Awesome, Dan. I recognize your face, man. In 2014, 31 helmets were tested out of hundreds in the United States. Hundreds. 31 were tested and 19 failed. That is terrible. That is terrible. 2015, 33 and 19. 2016, 24 and 13. 2017, 34 and 17. They only tested 20 helmets in 2018. And that's different sizes. Because if we all understand from the S.M.A.R.T rating that like 3XLs they might not work. They might not be S.M.A.R.T rated of the same helmet. So the same helmet, like let's say a Bell Bullet. I'm gonna say Bell Bullet because I've had that. It's not even S.M.A.R.T rated. So let's take that back. So the Shoei Hornet X2 is S.M.A.R.T rated. That's the one I have. That's that white helmet right there. I'm not saying it's only this helmet. Let's go back to my face. It's not just that helmet. So like small, extra small to 2X maybe. Extra small to 2X for that helmet, and I'm guessing this is typical though, is that will be S.M.A.R.T rated. The 3X won't be. Like for some reason, like the way it's shaped and designed, how big it is, it won't be. So when they are saying that right here, 20 out of 18, and this says including all sizes tested, so total tested, all sizes included. So you can have one helmet with 7 different sizes, and that counts as 7. So 7 out of the 20. That is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And while we're doing this, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna switch my face. I don't like how the camera is. It's like my body is so small. So bear with me. We're gonna do something interesting. So let's do nope. Let's do this. No. All right, whatever. I'm gonna have to do it afterwards. Anyways. So 18 out of 20 failed. 6 of them failed with labeling only. 6 of them with investigations, and I'm guessing. Oh, so I'm sorry. 12 failed on performance. 6 labeling. 6 investigations. 2 of them are recalled. So has anybody here ever received a recall notice for their helmet? I mean, I know it's the YouTube chat. I'm asking like everybody, but just think about that. Have anybody here ever received or heard of a helmet recall ever? Well, the problem is with helmet recalls is that if they fail the DOT test, they have to be recalled. But the only way you get notified of a recall, and here's the thing, is that if you register your helmet with the manufacturer when you get the helmet. Who here has ever registered their helmet with the manufacturer? I haven't, and I probably should. But that's the only way you're going to get a recall notice. So I wonder how many people are out there riding around with helmets right now with a recalled helmet that has never turned it in. And it's recalled not based off of a poor label. It's recalled based off of it didn't meet up to the performance standards for a motorcycle helmet. So this is why I do not trust DOT helmets. I do not. So we're going to go, I'm going to read a little bit right here. So I'm going to read this spot. You can kind of see it right below. Also, guys, if you're just now joining, if you want to join the chat, you click that little join button, and that will allow you to become a YouTube member. So today is a YouTube members only chat, but everybody gets to learn the same information. It's just a perk that I'm giving everybody. So if you'd like to join the chat and be a part of what we do here and help support the channel, please do so by clicking. I believe you can click the link in the chat. I think you guys can still see the chat if you click that little chat button, or just click that join button right next to subscribe. That is how you join the chat, and it helps out the channel. It really does, and allows me to do this full time. So What I'm reading here is that enforcement is carried out in the post-marketing inspection. So the way DOT handles it, hey, Fred Kauser, welcome, man, welcome. Really appreciate it, really do. Fred Kauser's supporting the channel, beautiful. So the way it's worked is post-marketing. So you can actually put out a helmet with a DOT sticker on it, and it has to meet labeling, because if it doesn't meet labeling, then you're kind of screwed. But you can put a helmet out on the market, and yeah, that's true, Nico. Let's go ahead and do a biker wave to any new member that shows up. Let's do a biker wave. There's a little bit of a lag going on for me. But the way it is, it goes out on the market, and what they do is they go out, there it is. What they go out is, and they grab helmets off the shelf, like literally off the shelf, and then test them. That's how they do it. And the rationale, it says, the rationale for this approach is that it is intended to prevent the manufacturer from selecting or producing a special sample of helmets designed specifically to pass the tests. This assumes that it would be economically feasible for the manufacturer to whip up a batch of custom-made helmets that would be superior to the helmets they mass produce in order to meet the DOT standard. That assumption seems both unrealistic and self-defeating for the manufacturer. Yeah, so if you're a reputable manufacturer, I mean, I kind of agree with that. Unrealistic and self-defeating. I think it's self-defeating. I don't think it's unrealistic for the manufacturer to do this. I think manufacturers would do this if they were dumb. No problem, Michael. The self-defeating thing is, I kind of agree with that. It's like it's a lot of work just to create some crappy, like really good helmet, like a really good, you know, off-the-chart safety helmet to send into a manufacturer for the testing. I understand that, but then at the end of the day, if they created a safe helmet, then why don't they just market that? Why don't they just send that out? So this whole idea of testing after the fact is not good enough for me. I believe they need to be tested within the lab, and then given like proof that this stuff works. I mean, we live in a day and age where we have, you know, cameras, we have data processing, we are able to record the testing process if we really had to. We really can. It should not be by the good old boy system where it's just, you know, my word says this and we put a sticker on it. I think manufacturers in the United States need to switch from something that's a DOT to a different standard, and I think that the federal government should make a change to that. I really do. I mean, in Europe they do it. It's not stopping manufacturers from creating helmets. It's just preventing them from, or it's actually stopping them from really taking it seriously in the United States. They take it seriously in MotoGP. They take it seriously in Europe. They take it seriously in the UK with the sharp ratings. They take it seriously in Australia and Japan with their different ratings. And then Snell, everyone wants the coveted Snell label on their helmets, and that is independently tested after the fact also. But I know a lot of manufacturers that will send their helmets to Snell to get it tested prior to putting it on the market because they want that Snell rating. It's insane. It's insane. So if the consumer doesn't register the helmet purchase with the manufacturer for warranty coverage or by some other mechanism, they will not receive a recall notice from the manufacturer. Compliance and forced recalls are relatively rare. Of the 72 helmets found to fail on actual performance, only 12 helmets were recalled. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So the way a lot is set up, helmets that have actually been proven to meet more rigorous standards like the Snell, ECE, by pre-marketing testing. So pre-marketing versus post-marketing. Pre-marketing is before it goes on the market. Post is after it's on the market. Documented results are required under those standards are not available to consumers unless the manufacturer opts for dual certification to include DOT testing, or at least labeling. So people are saying that's an added cost. Okay, so since 2014, a total of 67 helmets from 74 manufacturers of various sizes have been tested. What's up, T and Vol Fisher? How you doing, man? We're talking about how DOT helmets suck. Of the 167 helmets tested, a total of 105. Let's just switch it so you guys can read it with me. Okay, I'm right here. Total of 105, which is 62.8%, failed on performance, labeling, or both. 68, let's say 69%, nice. 69% failed. That is ridiculous. I don't even let my kids come home with anything below an 80% like pass rate. I mean, I let them come home. I do let them come home, but we make them retake their test if they get below an 80. And that just comes from my firefighting. You know, anything below an 80 is failure to me. Actual performance criteria include impact attenuation, penetration, resistance, retention system, each tested at ambient temperature, low temperature, high temperature, and with water immersion. What do I think of ANSI rating? I know that it's not for DOT, but what do you think of the ANSI overall? So ANSI, that's the shield, and that's like for sunglasses. I think that's what you're talking about. ANSI standards. So ANSI is that's a great question, man. So let's go back. American National Standards Institute. I might actually, you know, I'm gonna see if I can contact them and see if I can go to their testing. You know, I'm really into the testing and everything. So I mean, I'd have to look at the standards for specific stuff. But yeah, I know ANSI is definitely for safety goggles, safety glasses, and it can't penetrate. It can't produce shards into your eyes if hit. I do believe that is a good standard. I don't know if it's like DOT where it's post-market. That's a great question, Michael. I'm going to look more into that, dude. I'm going to look more into that. I never thought of that. I never thought of that. I never thought if it was pre or post-market. Great question, dude. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write that down. Of the 105 helmets tested that failed, a total of 33, so 31% failed on labeling alone. So things like label not meeting the label design and content specifics, not being permanently affixed, etc. The labeling standards are more considered described in our standard story. So they already did a story. So NHTSA has stated that 53 investigations have taken place. The outcome of those investigations has not been reviewed for this article. So there's still a bunch of investigations going on. Of the 72 helmets that failed in performance, only 12 recalls, which is less than 20%. 16.6% were recalled. That is ridiculous. That is substandard. Once again, for all the people that are just joining right now, do not buy a DOT only helmet. If it says DOT and ECE on it, that's fine. If it says DOT and ECE, that means you are at the standard of ECE. If you have a SNELL rated helmet, even better. Let's see. Let's go over the problem. So this is I think I have the source in the description. If you want to just read it yourself and not listen to me talk about it, in my opinion, that's perfectly fine. The thing is, Wayne Roberts became a YouTube member. Thank you so much, Wayne. Appreciate it. I want some the biker waves in the chat. Everyone that's a YouTube member right now, if you are watching, biker waves in the chat for the newest member. Welcome, Wayne. Thank you for the support of the channel. Guys, we're at 173. Also, if you guys didn't know, if you guys are just now joining, this is members only chat. Everybody can watch, everybody can learn, but to chat and have basically an opinion about it during the stream, you have to become a member. It's just a perk for the members. It's great. Tuesdays we do it anyways for everybody. That's perfectly fine. If you don't want to be a member, just let's please get the information so you do not wear a DOT only helmet. I do not want you guys to have traumatic brain injuries. And this is not the only subject we're going over. We're actually going to be talking about some other things like people are rallying against anti-helmet laws. And look at this, a doctor talking about traumatic brain injury. That's kind of like where I'm at right now. I am 100% for safety. So guys, we need to make sure that we're doing this correctly. So problem one, since all helmets sold in the US for road going users must have the DOT label, but the data shows that those helmets do not actually meet the applicable performance standards nearly half the time. Why not implement some simple steps to give consumers more choices that would include helmets certified under standards that require performance testing before the helmet is placed on the market? So options for motorcycle safety improvement. So this is what I actually really like about this video, or not this video, but this article, is that not only did they talk about the problems that are pertained, is that they came up with their own options for motorcycle safety improvement. This is beautiful, and I'm out here contacting as many people as I possibly can so I can talk to these people and get more information. I'm going to contact this author, or I'm sorry, the author, whatever, the person that wrote this, and see what we can do about this. So reform the language of FMV SS 218. That is the DOT standard. If you look at your DOT sticker right now, the new sticker should say FMV SS 218. So if you're right now at home in the United States listening to this, watching this, check your helmets right now. Check them right now. Fred Kauser says, I now need a new helmet. See, look, he checked his helmet. Boom. Get it. Get a different helmet, man. I'm sorry. And I did a video of helmets under $200. There's 3 helmets that I chose that were under $300 or $200. And those are ECE minimum. So you might want to check that video out. Because I don't want you guys buying expensive-ass helmets if you don't have to. So require helmet to be proven to meet standards before allowing it in the market with compliance labeling. So this is exactly what I recommend also. I believe that DOT should be proven before they hit the market. Before. So this is what they're saying, is that any helmet having been certified by recognized testing laboratories as defined. That's just, you guys can read that. That's all like verbatim, like legal crap. I don't feel like reading that. Let's look at the other problem. Standard has requirements for the label content and how it's affixed to the helmet, but do not require that the helmet pass all the applicable tests prior to the label being applied and the product being on the market. So the problem is that you can put a sticker on it and it's not going to be a big deal. You can put a sticker on a helmet and it doesn't even have to meet performance standards. And then even if it doesn't meet performance standards, it's not going to be recalled. That's ridiculous. So there's no incentive to even do any testing. If you're an American company that or if you're any company that decides to sell a helmet in the United States, it doesn't even have to meet testing standards. It doesn't. It's ridiculous. So for manufacturers already doing their own testing and or contracting it out, this would merely add the administrative step of submitting the results. So if that's what they're saying, is like if the manufacturer's already sending it out to get tested to meet DOT standards, then why aren't they submitting their results? You know what I mean? Why aren't they submitting the results? Those manufacturers already pursuing the SNEL and ECE 2205 certification or the FR. What's this one? FIM Racing Homologation. Oh, that's the new MotoGP helmet standard. We'll talk about that a little bit. I just downloaded a PDF accidentally. Federation Internationale. I did a video on this a while back. I'm going to have to read this again. But that's the MotoGP standard, that it's going to be above SNEL. James Wiley, that is fraud. That is fraud. And I'm really surprised there's no class action lawsuits out there. I'm really surprised. Also, guys, if you're new to the chat or if you're new to the stream, we're doing a members-only chat. So if you want to join the chat itself, you have to become a member. You just click that join button or click the link in the chat. I believe you're able to still see the chat, still click links in the chat. Click that link. Or click join and you can join the chat. But Tuesdays it's open for everybody. We're just having a discussion right now. They would label their helmets as they currently do when they achieve compliance under those systems. So you know, at the end of the day, so who's this? Okay, so I'm gonna read. I'm gonna see who the author is on this one. I'm gonna find the author. If anything, I can find the author on the write-up part. Yeah, Dustin Whelan. So he did the same thing. So we're actually going to get out of this one. What we found out is DOT is tested post-market, which means once it's already on the market, it is maybe tested. In 2019, 25 helmets were tested, and each size of a helmet that is tested counts. So that could be, 5 different helmets with 5 different sizes equal 25. 19 of them failed. 9 of them failed on performance. 10 of them failed on labeling only. Rob Dad Dog, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you. From Australia. Damn, I need to go down there. Hopefully everything's going good down there, man. But look at 2018, 20 helmets. 18 failed. 12 of them failed because of performance. Only 2 of them were recalled. That's insane. If we look at the totals, 167 helmets were tested. DOT only. 167 helmets were tested. 105 failed. 72, which is 30 or 43%, failed on performance. What I'm wondering, and I want to look through some of these stats, because are these helmets that are DOT only, or are they DOT ECE also? Because if that's the case, that means they failed ECE also. And if any of these are SNEL rated helmets, I'm going to do a little bit more in depth on this. If any of those were SNEL rated helmets and they failed the DOT standards, then we're going to have a huge problem. Huge problem with the helmets that are going out on the market. So I'm actually going to do a little bit more research on that. That just came up into my head right now. Really concerned. So at the end of the day, guys, let's go back to this. At the end of the day, guys, do not buy a DOT only helmet. If you find this badass helmet out there and you're like, man, I can totally afford this. This is a good helmet. And you find out it's only DOT on the back end, on the back, the sticker on the back just says DOT. It does not say ECE on it. Then don't get it. Don't get it. Most recommended brand, Shoei or Arai. Those are my most recommended brands. Those are my most anything that you see MotoGP riders wear, get that. Okay? Get one of those. Get a reputable brand that is utilized within MotoGP. There are consumer grade helmets for that. Like the RF1200 is a perfect helmet. RF1200 from Shoei is a great helmet. I have that white one back there is the Shoei Hornet X2. Love the helmet. Okay, those are about $300 to $500, but well worth it. Think about it. You know, you replace your helmet every 5 years, or if it's in a crash. So if you buy a $500 helmet, and in 5 years, I mean that's $100 a year to protect your noggin. It's $100 a year for insurance, basically, for your head. That's the way I look at it. I mean, you only buy it once, and then you keep it for 5 years. Unless you're out there replacing helmets every year to look cool. So that's where I buy a helmet, and I keep it until I don't need it anymore. All right, so we're going to go back to this. We're going to go to this one. So this is something that we talked about somewhat. So I just want you guys to see right here. So anti-helmet law bill shot down after common sense prevails. So this is a pretty catchy headline. If to remove any opinion, it would be this. So it would just be anti-helmet law bill shot down, or you could turn it into freedom bill shot down, whatever you want to call it, whatever side of the side of this argument you're on. We talked about this, I believe it was last week. I think we talked about lane filtering. We talked about lane filtering last Thursday. So if you guys are wanting to know my opinion on lane filtering, we talked about it last Thursday. And I might actually be turning some of my talking points into a podcast. So stay tuned to that. Stay tuned to that. I'm very opinionated on safety. But I'm also making sure we're not stepping on anybody's rights. Okay, so this guy, I believe he's probably from like Abate or Abate or some type of rider freedom group, which is perfectly fine. We need people on both sides arguing for something, So North Carolina, a recent attempt to change North Carolina's mandatory helmet law in the state's House Health Committee failed. So House Bill 267, which was sponsored by Representative John Torbett, would have allowed riders 21 years of age or older to legally operate a motorcycle without a helmet. So it would allow them. So it's like Arizona. Arizona, you don't have to. If you're under 18, you have to wear a helmet. Over 18, it's up to you if you want. So under the bill, wearing a helmet would remain mandatory for riders the first year of getting licensed unless they take a special course. So that right there, when we talk about freedom to choose, then how come we're imposing, the first year and then take a special class? You know what I mean? I think that right there, that is just like trying to appease lawmakers into saying, hey, look, we're about safety. You got to do this. But at the end of the day, I don't want to wear a helmet. So we're going to try to make it work that way. I don't think that's right. So let's see. And I'm here to listen to your guys' opinions too. So I'm 100% for freedom to ride how you see fit, so long as no one else has to pay for your carcass. But most people aren't in that position, so I support helmet laws. And that's a good point. And that's what I briefly read about from what this guy said. But I want to read both arguments. And that's the point of this. We're supposed to learn from both sides, and then we either meet in the middle or we're convinced to go to a different side. That's the way freedom works. And to shut out other people's opinions, whether if they disagree with you or not, is not how I do things, because you totally lose what is important here. So it's a matter. So this is what the representative that introduced the bill, the anti-helmet law. So it's not a matter of wearing a helmet or not wearing a helmet, began Representative Torbett, a longtime motorcycle rider. So he's been riding motorcycles, I guess. It's a matter of, does the state tell you to wear it, or do they allow you to choose? And I profess that the state should not tell you, but we should actively and aggressively let people choose to either wear a helmet or to not wear a helmet based on their own wants. So the crux of Torbett's argument was that there's little evidence to show that states without helmet laws see more rider deaths, despite pretty much all statistical evidence pointing to the contrary. So this is the opinion right now so far of the author. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight this part right here, and I'm going to put it back on my face because I believe this is very important. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this into the chat so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I am a hot politician, baby. Yeah. So that right there in the chat, if you guys are in the chat, that's what I'm going to be discussing real briefly. So I can't even tell if somebody that's not a member can read the chat. I believe they can, but it's going to be up on the screen right here. That's why I kept it there. So guys, once again, if you're just now joining, become a YouTube member and help support the channel. It's $2, and you get to join the chat on Thursdays when we talk about a specific topic. You click that join button right next to subscribe, and that will allow you to join the chat and support the channel at the same time. But please, if you're still here and you don't want to join, that's perfectly fine. Just get the information because I want you guys to be safe. This is something I'm super passionate about, and I'm absolutely loving these Thursdays now. Because now I get to talk about my opinion and not just do another accident scene kind of thing. So the crux of Torbett's argument was that there's little evidence to show that states without helmet laws see more rider deaths, and that what they're saying is despite pretty much all statistical evidence pointing to the contrary. So in states, so in 1970s, around the 1970s, FatZ1806, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate it. I want to see all the YouTube members giving him the biker wave, the 2 fingers biker wave. Please do so. Join or welcome a new member. Since the 1970s, there's been a huge push to reduce mandatory state helmet laws. If you guys didn't know, and I believe there's a lot of older gentlemen and women here that were riding or were alive or understood before the 80s, basically, that most states, I think like 47 states, had mandatory helmet laws. They had mandatory helmet laws. And then there was just a string of repeals and removals of these helmet laws. And yeah. So let's do this, so you guys can have a better visual representation. So that's Fat Zio. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So right here, I'm assuming green is mandatory. Orange is probably mandatory for under 18 or a certain age, and then light greens, there's some other specification like kids only. But at the end of the day, most states repealed their mandatory helmet laws, and motorcycle fatalities per accident, okay, that's the huge thing. That's one thing that I had a big disagreement about lane splitting, is that motorcycle accidents, let's say there's 1,000 motorcycle accidents, when you wear a helmet, it reduces your risk of a fatality. So it's not going to prevent the accident. The helmet's never going to prevent the accident. Let me go back to my face, sorry. But if you do have that accident, within 1,000 accidents, you're going to have a greater chance. I think it's about 50% of reduced fatality by wearing that helmet. So you're reducing fatalities if you have an accident if you're wearing a helmet. It's like getting into a car and not having a seatbelt on, but never getting in a crash and be like, hey guys, I never got in a crash. I don't need seatbelts. So let's repeal the mandatory seatbelt law. That's kind of where this whole argument is. So if you get in a crash, you're really going to be loving that seatbelt. Same thing with the helmet. So there is evidence. There's massive amounts of evidence that dictate that wearing a helmet will reduce the fatality. The fatal rate will get reduced if you wear a helmet. And I keep saying that over and over again because I want that to be stuck in your heads. Because in Arizona, we don't have to wear helmets. We don't have to wear helmets. And I see it all the time. And just wear a helmet. If you get in a crash, it's going to reduce your chance of dying. It's insane. Like light green, I think, requires helmets for under 18. I know that South Carolina has that law, and they're light up green. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. Florida's over the age of 21 if they can prove they're covered by 10,000. Yeah, and some states don't even require insurance. Like you have to pay for that. So I'm gonna go real quick Let me read this. Let me read this whole paragraph right here real quick, 'cause this is his argument. Thank you guys for staying here. We have 100 viewers. Guys, we have 100 concurrent viewers right now. Why don't we hit that like button? Let's hit that like button. So let me reread it. I read fast. It's not a matter of wearing a helmet or not wearing a helmet. It's a matter of, does the state tell you to wear it, or do they allow you to choose? And I profess the state should not tell you, but we should actively and aggressively let people choose to either wear a helmet or not wear a helmet based on their own wants. I agree with that. The crux of Torbett's argument was that there's little evidence to show that states without helmet laws see more rider deaths. I disagree with that. Torbett also inferred that if helmets save lives, you wouldn't see 30 other states without helmet laws on the books. I disagree with that. I absolutely disagree with that. That is, somebody come up with, it's not ad hominem. There's different types of arguments out there. Ad hominem, straw man. But this right here, somebody find that out for me. Somebody figure that out for me. That is a weak argument to say that, well, if 30 other states don't have helmet laws, why should we? That is terrible. One of the people on Torbett's side of the aisle was Charlie Boone, a legislative director for the Concerned Bikers Association, and there it is, ABATE affiliate. Okay, I already have my run-ins with them. Boone went on to argue that there are thousands more head injuries and deaths in auto accidents every year, so if the committee cares so much about safety, why doesn't it push for car drivers to wear helmets too? Check and mate. Charlie Boone, a legislative director for ABATE, basically an affiliate, Concerned Bikers of Association, basically said there are thousands more head injuries and deaths in auto accidents every year. So if they cared so much about safety, why don't they push for car drivers to wear helmets too? That is a ridiculous argument. That is a ridiculous argument. Sophistry, Sean, is that what you're saying? I always hate the argument of wearing a helmet defeats the purpose of riding. Lots of my older family members that ride say that they mock me for wearing all the gear. Dude, Fat Zio, you're the one that's going to outlast any of them if you get in a crash. And make sure that you are strapping the helmet on. I see people just pop it on. Yeah, exactly. So you have to have the retention system on. You can trip and fall and bang your head and die. It's so much worse than in a crash. Yeah, I've had a patient at one of those rehab facilities. Like, it was a nursing home, basically. It was a long-term rehab facility where his head injury caused him to be at the mental capacity of an 8-year-old Down syndrome kid. I'm serious, an 8-year-old Down syndrome kid. He couldn't formulate words. He couldn't function with his hands very well, but he could understand what's going on. He got a head injury from walking backwards and tripping over his toolbox in his garage and hitting his head on the concrete. That's how it happened. So when I'm out here hearing about kids not riding around, like they're riding around without helmets, it destroys me. It's like, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. It's simple, very simple gravity attack will destroy you. So on the opposing side, so we're going to read the opposing side. Yeah, sophistry is subtle, tricky, superficially plausible, but generally fallacious. Dude, I love it, man. I love reading these big words. I really do. Moto Bear, welcome. Became a DDFM crew member. DDFM crew member. I'm going to go ahead and hit show on that one, T Involve. I don't know why it didn't let you. Everyone say welcome to him. Everyone say welcome to him. Sorry I get distracted, guys. We're going to go back to the chat real quick. That's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Exactly. And if there's also, to go back to that, there's thousands more head injuries. Thank you, Moto Bear. I appreciate it. Thousands more head injuries and deaths in auto accidents every year. But here's the thing, guys. If you've watched my channel long enough, you understand that motorcycles are only about 6% of all motor vehicles on the road, but we're 28 times more likely to die than a car. So we already have a greater chance of dying than cars, and we're only 6%. Like, we're only 6%. And we accumulate 28 times more deaths ratio-wise than cars. Yes, car driving is extremely dangerous, but they already have a bunch of safety features intact, and they already have a bunch of regulations, which include airbags, now new driver aids out there with all the computer systems. You have seat belts. You have better A, B, and C posts. You have crumple zones. With motorcycling, you have nothing. You have nothing. So to argue that there's thousands more head injuries and deaths, that's because there's thousands upon thousands more cars and more drivers. So that argument's terrible. So on the side opposing the bill were a handful of high-ranking medical experts and professionals who emailed representatives to weigh in on the issue, including academic chief resident for physical medicine and rehabilitation at Carolina's Medical Center in Charlotte, North Carolina, Kendall Held. Damn, that's a long name. He attended the hearing and gave his 2 cents. So this right here, I read this briefly. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the chat. Hopefully it'll allow me, because you can only have 200 characters. Nope, it's not gonna work. All right, so we'll just do this. So right here, I'm reading this part right here. Here we go. So by the nature of my position, I'm intimately aware of the consequences that a motorcycle injury can cause, stated Held, who has joined at the hearing by a slew of his colleagues, not only to the injured rider, but the family, their friends, and the state of North Carolina. Traumatic brain injury can affect more than just the rider. Riders with severe injuries often cannot physically care for themselves and must completely rely on others to care for them. Unfortunately, this is often a lifelong 24/7 job. That right there, I think a lot of people, when I say that, I say this all the time. I say this all the time. 1 second. My son died last September because he was allowed to buy a 100 horsepower ST with only 6 months riding experience. EU laws may have prevented this. Laws are needed. More common sense. I am so sorry to hear that. I am so sorry, man. I am so sorry. This right here is why I do this, guys. This right here is why I do this. But what I was saying is that I say this all the time. I say this all the time. And it feels like a lot of people do listen to me, but they hear it and that's it. They hear it and that's it. But we right here have somebody. Moto Bear right here has somebody that I mean, it affects them. It affects you. It really affects you. And I see this. When he says he's intimately aware of the consequences, I am also intimately aware of that. I've seen people's faces split open. Like the Predator. The Predator. Their face just flayed open with a frontal impact. So several officials opposing the bill, such as Representative Ray Russell and Deb Butler, pointed to a powerful set of facts and figures from studies conducted by various unbiased entities, including UNC Chapel Hill, as well as facts from the safety memorandum from the U.S. Department of Transportation. While numbers can vary from agency to agency, they both pointed out that they all blatantly point in the same direction, suggesting that the same thing: helmets save lives, period. And that's not mentioning the monetary aspect, which, according to studies, suggests an extra $25 million in healthcare costs could be saved if everyone just wore helmets. That's what I'm talking about, guys. When I talk about mandatory universal helmet laws, we talk about freedom. We talk about I should have the right. I should have the right. But I'm also of the aspect, Quentin, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. I really appreciate it. Really do. It's going to pop up on screen too. When I talk about universal helmet laws and I talk about the freedom, and I talk about I don't want freedom imposed, I don't want this thing imposed on me, it's taking away my freedoms. But here's the thing is that how would you feel if like a dozen people go out and they don't wear helmets and they crash and they don't die, but now they are like that person I talked about, where they're in a long-term rehab facility. They have maybe no family to pay for it. So now it's on the government to pay for that. Long-term. 25-year-old crashed. Let's say an 18-year-old crashed. Traumatic brain injury, just demolished. We have to pay for that for the rest of his life. Or his mom, parents, friends, family, husband, wife, whoever it is, has to pay for that by basically removing themselves from a job because they have to take care of them 24/7. And now we have a loss of income for the state, which is state taxes. for 2 people, and on top of that, they're receiving government assistance to maintain that. I'm all for that. I have no problem with my taxes paying for that. I have zero problem with that, because it's just, we should take care of each other. But the thing is, if a helmet could have prevented that, then why can't I feel also obligated to tell somebody to wear a helmet, like mandatory, like you need to wear this helmet? Like that right there, that argument of I should have the freedom. Well, you know what? Your freedom might be imposing on your state's citizens if you get in a crash. That to me is where I'm at with that. That's where I'm at with that. So if I could go over here and talk to Arizona state legislator or work on something to where we have a multi-tiered system for training, for the licensing, we could talk about the DOT helmet standards. We can also talk about, making sure we all wearing helmets. And at the end of the day, we're not even talking about wearing jackets, pants, boots, gloves. We're just talking about helmets, guys. Helmets. All right. Nobody dies in the... somebody tell me if anybody's died in the NFL because they didn't wear a helmet. They wear helmets in the NFL. They wear helmets in pretty much every sport. MotoGP and all of them, they wear helmets. There's a reason. Raises the point that despite what Torbett was arguing, the impact of helmet laws transcend beyond bikers. This is a bill not only affecting motorcycle riders, it affects all of us who drive. We hit somebody who has a helmet on and they suffer a minor injury, and then the next time you hit somebody accidentally who doesn't have a helmet, you have a catastrophic injury. See, that's the thing, is they're not saying it removes the injury. You're going to have a minor injury, hopefully. But in that same instance where if you just remove that one thing, that helmet, if you just remove that helmet from the same exact everything, good chance that you're going to have a catastrophic injury or death. That's what it is. Let's advertise.
Call Caroline Solution.
Let's see what this is. Let's see what this is real quick so we can. Yeah, Aaron Hernandez had CTE. Oh, this is a full-on hour. Never mind. I really wish they had timestamps to the arguments being held, because that would be really cool. That'd be really cool. So I am all for helmets, guys. This guy is doing all he can to make sure that we're all having helmets. There's a reason why we should. There's definitely a reason why we should. So I think I got out of. There was, let me go back. There was another article, and I'm gonna contact this woman. She's the author, and she's actually shared a few of my my videos in an article. Sabrina Giacominini. I'm saying that so wrong. She's actually shared my stuff on Ride Apart before. She's the editor-in-chief. Anyways, this is an opinion piece. Fire Dog 911, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Really do. It's gonna pop up here. Supernova, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Guys, if you're just now joining the chat or joining the stream, it's a members only chat. You don't have to become a member, but if you want to help support the channel and chat and be a part of the conversations on Thursdays where we tackle a subject about safety or anything, could be just motorcycle news. There it is, YouTube member. Please click that join button. If you click that join button, you're supporting the channel and you're helping me out when it comes to research, basically. And you can also super chat. Thank you so much. If you'd rather just super chat, that's perfectly fine. But it really does help with the channel. So this is the opinion. So let's go to this real quick. So opinion: why people rallying against the helmet law in New Hampshire is a problem. So it's not just South Carolina. New Hampshire's now doing it. New Hampshire's now doing it. So on February 4th, 2020. Oh, wrong button. 300 people showed up at the Representatives Hall in Concord, New Hampshire to speak up against proposed House Bill 1621 FN. The bill would make motorcycle helmets mandatory. The main argument: freedom and choice. Freedom and choice. You know what? I also want to have the choice of not paying millions of dollars in taxpayers' money to take care of people that could have bought a $150 helmet to not be in that position. That's my thing. Let's see. The rational answer most of us have to this is no. Why? Let's all say it together. Because the kid's safety is more important than his perception of freedom. He'll probably throw a tantrum because he's being held back and is kept from doing something he chooses to do. But as an adult, you know better. So I don't know if I agree with that. I do believe that the people that have the ideology of don't impose this on me, I don't believe they have a child's mentality. I mean, I understand the tantrum part, so that's a behavior that never grew out of. But there has to be something said about those that fight for freedom against anything. You know what I mean? But when there's overwhelming evidence to the contrary, I believe that's when your opinion should change. So I'm with that. Okay. So she also mentions, why are seatbelts and airbags mandatory in cars, but we allow naked people to ride on motorcycles? That's true. In the state of Arizona, all you have to do, all you have to have in terms of safety protective gear is eye protection. You could be 100% naked. You could be 100% naked in the state of Arizona. You just have to have sunglasses on. That's insane. So we want to legalize lane splitting and lane filtering to make the road safer, and we are quick to blame cagers for our woes, yet we are not willing to take basic steps for our own safety. That is exactly what I said last Thursday. Yeah, Michael. Yeah, so I understand. Yeah, it's a political discussion. I understand. But we're going to focus on the safety part. And this is an opinion piece right here. This is what I talked about in lane splitting, lane filtering. So we have to talk about the overwhelming facts that it does reduce fatalities. It doesn't prevent them. And I want people to understand that. It doesn't prevent fatalities. It doesn't prevent like injury. It doesn't, I mean, it mitigates. There's a thing, it's called mitigation. If it's a 30% reduction in severity, that could mean the difference between a loss of a limb. So I'm talking about, like, let's say a jacket. So if we wear a jacket versus no jacket, let's just say it's a 30% mitigation in severity. If you wore no jacket, you could possibly lose an arm. Let's say in this crash, you can lose an arm. If you wore the jacket, you might keep the arm, but you might have to go through rehab. You might have to, deal with it for about a year. Pain, rehab, nerve damage, maybe surgeries, whatnot. But would rather keep the arm than to just lose it outright? You know what I mean? So that to me is what gear is. It's just a mitigation factor. It's not going to solve the problem. So what she's talking about in this is that, we're constantly fighting for more rights for us as motorcyclists, but we're not taking the necessary steps to ensure that we're being safe in the first place. We're saying, let's impose lane splitting, lane filtering on other people, but let's not impose anything on us. That right there it's a two-way street. Super Noah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Super Noah, thank you. T and Volt Fisher, you're still here. I don't know why it's not updating for you. You might have to redo it. So I'm completely in favor of helmets being mandatory because of all the overwhelming evidence, and maybe I'll make a video based on that. We'll see how that goes. But I mean, that's also my opinion. That's just me. So that's where, we have to go to the state legislature and do all that stuff to figure it all out. But overwhelmingly, it does save lives. It saves lives. There's a huge percentage of people that would have died in a crash if they weren't wearing that helmet. So that's going to be the biggest problem. That's going to be the biggest problem when it comes to the helmet safety laws. And to go back to what we were originally talking about, what the title of this is all about for a wrap up here, is that DOT only is terrible. DOT only is terrible. They only do post-market testing, which means that it has to go on the market already. People are buying the helmets, and then maybe it's going to get tested for safety. Snell, ECE, Sharp, all these other companies, or not companies, all these other testing and legislative and government bodies are out there testing it pre-market. So that means before it even goes on the market, it has to pass the standard. That is the way I believe it should be in the United States. That is the way. So how do we become a member? Patreon. Patreon isn't working. Firedog 911. Aren't you already a or aren't you already a? Oh, you just click that join button. Click that join button here. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll share it. Appreciate it, man. I'll share the link for the YouTube membership. So click that link right there and become a member. It would help out the channel a lot. But your super chat helps out the channel too. So thank you so much for that. So at the end of the day, guys, if you have a DOT only helmet, I want everybody, if we can take away from this, I want everybody to check their helmets. If it says DOT only, there might be a good chance that it is not up to standard. If it's ECE, it quite possibly is up to standard. I'm going to look more into it because I have a feeling that some of these helmets that are DOT tested, maybe some of them are ECE also. I'm wondering if that's the case. So, guys, I'm going to be, we do an hour long. We do an hour long when it comes to the stream.